Sperm. Let's talk about my very first session as a dungeon master. We got the module. We have the module, my prep, and we have what happened. Let's see if we have enough time to go through all that. So super quick. Every week we play D&D on Twitch for a couple hours. The following week we take that episode and split into 2 parts to release here on this channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're looking for a fun actual play D&D adventure about world building and unique character stories, hit that subscribe button and head over to Twitch to give us a follow and maybe even sub there too. All right, let's get to this. With the module, players don't watch this video. I'm expecting that my players aren't watching this, so careful. What the module says, leave a city, delivering some goods, going down the road, into a trail, and then into a new town. Then there's maybe a goblin surprise happening on the trail. In the town, there's different people that will lead to different quests. Okay, what I prepared. I prepared a couple things that could happen on the road, and I wanted to describe the road a little bit, being safe. I wanted to describe the city being a kind of like up and coming. I read all the way to the end of the module. I noticed bigger bads and different things that happen in the module that I wanted to weave around. Instead of leaving the city, I was like, oh, maybe a little bit of the city to kind of hint to a big bad that's happening. And I was like, okay, let's tie a plague in there. That might be good. On the road, I'll have like a Royal Guard Ranger go by when they're camping one night to talk about maybe some bandits on the road. And rather than just goblins attacking because they're goblins, I was like, well, they're bandits. It's an occupation thing, not, So I had to prepare the map for the goblin bandit encounter when they're passing on the trail. I also had to prepare their cave hideout in case the players wanted to go up the trail following their footprints to get to their hideout. Okay, so those are 2 maps I have to prepare. Cool. They get to the town. It said, just hint that they should go back to the trail. Then I was like, they might want to stay in the town. Okay, so I should prepare the inn. Who are these people? And I needed to understand what's going on in the town. So reading the book and reading what the next adventures could be, I also started keeping that in mind. And this clearly is leading into over-prep for a lot of people. I didn't feel over-prepared. I felt like I'm just preparing. This led me to look up and learn about Dale Kingsmill, Sperm. Let me get my papers. All right. So Dale Kingsmill, she's awesome. Her idea is Sperm, which means social, political, economic, religious, and military. Usually a town or society requires those 5 things to be functional, or a variety of those things, and if they're lacking one, what does that mean? So you can understand a town. When I applied that to the module's town, I started seeing the town differently. I saw it in a very mechanical, clear-cut way that I could understand basic structure of this town. There's a lot of economic flourish because it's a new town. Not a lot of military, so there's bandits and ruffians in the town. Barely any religion there. There's like a shrine. So everyone's probably not going to be the most religiously knowledged in religion. Socially, you got the inn. I added the Mouseling Post. Is something that I've been thinking about for a couple years. Is a postal service made by a founding group of Mouselings. It became an official guild, or supposed to be so trusted that they themselves have to be the ones who deliver the message. Like, is that a weakness? Is that a strength? Who knows? I'll find out someday. Economically, there's the Miners Exchange, provision store, big weapons and magical items store, an orchery, some farms have economic value and trade going on in this town. Politically, there's really just the kind of the pre-mayor office, and there's the Miner Exchange. And the reason why the Miners Exchange is in the political section as well as economic is because the head of the Miners Exchange in the module has a grudge against the town master. And I spice it up with the Miner Exchange's, the guild is involved, and it's a massive mining operation. Military, there is none. So like I said, the ruffians and the gangs are coming in. And that instantly makes a conflict logically on the political, economic end of the mining guild and a bunch of gangs who are trying to take over the startup town. Yeah, I thought that was interesting because when you make a 1 or 2 primary NPCs based off each relationship in society, you kind of have a good basic foundation of NPCs for any town or city. It made a lot of sense to me. It became my favorite NPC world building tool once I applied it to the module and saw that it worked and saw that it revealed its structure to me. A little extra to it is adding an extra E for education. So you understand what the education relationships in the town or the city are. Is there no education? Is there an educational system? Is it political, economic, like private entity, a public school? Is it a religious school? Is it a military school? That kind of helps you understand what the point of the town is. And then an extra M for magic, because magic exists. I thought that was really cool. It really does help me just lay out the town structurally versus just narratively. On top of that, I have no idea how far my players are going to get. I don't have a table. So I kind of drew the map of the main region. I drew the map of the town just so I don't show the players any secrets that are hidden in the module. Then I drew this map, the map of the bandit goblin encounter. And then I drew multiple rooms of the cave that's in the module. Even though I play Dungeons & Dragons, I'm not the one who's tracking time always. Usually that's our DM. And so I have to figure pacing out and I have to figure out how to track the session. So this is what happened. Remember, the module said you start by leaving the city. I prepared for I'll hint something as they're leaving the city, maybe some rumors or gossip that they hear. I'll have them roll. And I started in a town off the island. Dude, this is where you guys met. This is where you met your employer. And then you go on the ship, and the ship ride's like a week long. What do you guys talk about? You guys can introduce your characters since you're meeting each other on the same job. I'm just trying to give a prologue narration to this session, and I'm starting the game a week before the module starts. I catch myself doing this. I'm like, what am I doing? Try to hurry them up through that city, but at the same time, I was like, okay, they can describe the city. I got to get them going. They talk about the plague a bit. They ask a random person about what's going on with this. I kind of describe it. I describe some poaching. I'll come back to that. That's pretty much all. And then they start leaving the town. I point down because in the module they're going south, but I flipped it in my map that they're going north. Why? Don't know. And they're going north on the main road. I say that it's a safe road. Guards occasionally pass by because it's a patrolled road. It's a main road between a town to a city and a major city. So this road is very important, so guards occasionally track through it. They stay the night a couple times. Oh, I also added that a fresh blank of snow is everywhere. The module doesn't say it's snowing. I just added that it's snowing and it's wintertime. I thought that was a nice little texture. Now, I'm gonna put a pin in character things that happen on the road, and I'll come back to that. Let's just get to them getting to the town. So they get through the main road, they take the turn on the trail. There's dead horses in the trail. This is a trap made by the goblins. They're dead horses, let's take their saddles and try to sell it. Okay, the goblins attack. Whew, those goblins rolled some high hitting damage for level 1 players. That starter module is dangerous. Clearly was on the high end of moderate because I rolled really well all the goblin arrows. And I think I nearly killed a player on the very first encounter. Because I don't know how to balance yet, so I gotta figure that out. And they go off. Almost followed the trail to the goblin lair. Didn't. They went straight to the town. It's like, okay, no problem. The module was prepared for that, and therefore I am prepared for that. They get to the town, they go to the provision store, they deliver the goods, tell them about the person that had those horses. It seems like they don't connect the dots yet. Whether they do or don't, I don't know, but their actions say that they don't. So they're like, let's go find an inn. They go to the inn. I introduced the innkeeper. I added a cook right there. Blue Dragonborn cook named Coop. It makes sense that an innkeeper would turn around and tell the cook to go make something. I added the innkeeper's son, Pip, who's telling a little bit of gossip. He went out and followed this important NPC that the players missed, and mentioned that he saw them get kidnapped and dragged off, and he could only follow them so far before he felt too endangered. So that's 3 cues. God, I have the sniffles. They decide to do it in the morning. So they stay the night. Another character moment. They buy some food. One of the players invents pizza, have drinks. I mentioned the cider. They go up to sleep, and then some more character stuff. That's all they did. I have the whole module prepared. I have maps for every encounter. I've rolled initiative ahead of time for every encounter, so I don't have to roll a bunch of goblins or whatever baddies that they bump into. Like, it's just ready. That feels like it's over prepared, but in my mind, planning every map is kind of like preparing the adventure, the whole adventure ready to go. Or at least what the module has prepared for me, I've prepared for that module. I, in my mind, am aware of what that map is. I'm aware of what that encounter is. I'm more aware of the side quests that all the NPCs in town have available for the players. It's less about being perfectly prepared and just being aware of what I need to be prepared for at any given time. That way I can just focus on the players. It reduced so much stress. Like, this is the first one, get it right. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing what the adventure evolves into with what I have prepared versus what I don't have prepared. And that allowed me to trust what I prepared and then come up with cool shit on the spot. So let's talk about those character moments. Those character moments are important. Starting this adventure, asking everyone what classes they want to be. I made note of each class, and I tried to think of a way how each class ties into the adventure. So it's like, okay, there's a druid in the class. What happens when a druid is on this adventure? For example, on the road to the trail to the town, every night that the druid stayed up, she had spiritual telepathical connection to the wilderness that is right on the side of the road. There's a plague going on from the wilderness. So she's getting fed this alone in the dark. Crow's eyes are glazed in green. Plague, green, poison. That crow keeps coming back. Our cleric, who is a cleric of the Wild Mother. And then I have a ranger. So I have 3 characters that are connected to nature. I have to separate those in my mind so I know who to feed what. The druid is magically connected to nature. Cleric is spiritually connected to nature. The ranger is practically ground-driven, connected to, or naturally connected to the to nature. So I have that separation. So I'm going to keep that in mind on the things that they see, the things that they encounter, and ideally they put some things together that equal a solution to a puzzle. The druid, she would hear rumbling growl of a monster, a beast. The snow would melt, and the grass, the green grass, would shrivel up and die. The next morning, other players were like, do we see those things that happened? Are there footprints in the snow? Is the grass still dead? None of it's there. But that happens twice, and she takes note of that. The cleric starts to try looking for crows, no luck. When they get to those horses on the trail, on the horses there's a crow with the green glazed eyes. But what I did is I put a limitation on the distance. They got to the town, they're gonna spend the night there, she's not gonna have that connection anymore. And so I'm not always torturing her with it. In the Goblin Bandit fight, when my warlock casted Eldritch Blast for the first time, I made him hear a purring sound. On one of the night's watch, the ranger met the guard walking by, let them know that there are bandits nearby. He also spots a deer, a basic deer walking by, connecting him with nature a little bit more. The cleric, I just said, the wind goes by, you feel very warm in this wind, like it's very comforting, something like that. At the inn, on the way up the stairs, the rogue spots a hobo sign connected to Thieves' Cant, establishing that Thieves Guild is kind of doing their thing around town, and since there's gang and guild activity in this town, Thieves Guild is also here. And is the Thieves Guild the gang? Who knows? Is the gang someone else? Who knows? I do, they don't. Before going to bed, my warlock decided to go off into the corner, pull something out of his bag, and this is the item that granted him his patron. He kind of gives a little prayer to it. And so I set a really, really low DC roll. He hears a purr, and a black tail is in the shadow, and a figure comes out. I describe basically a black tabaxi, but a domesticated house black cat. And I told him that he needs to deliver 6 pieces of 7. What does that mean? Man, I didn't do much with my fighter. Fighter just kind of killed people. That's what fighters do. I couldn't figure out the best kind of connection for the fighter to the grand adventure that the module presents. That's okay. I just then looked at what the player presented as their backstory, and I saw a little bit of a hint. Might have to make some stuff. I think I have something really awesome prepared for her. So that was my first time DMing. I asked for notes from my players. The notes were, I did well. The world felt kind of really grounded and real, like nothing was too out of place. It could be an existing world. I did get the note that it felt a little railroady, and I think that had to do with, one, me messing up the beginning. Second, it was like the mission right there was deliver from point A to point B. That's your job. That's what you agreed to do and get paid to do. So I hope talking about my first session helps anyone who's trying to also start DMing. It's not that big of a deal. Just do your due diligence and be ready for what you want the players to go through. Now that I'm probably prepared enough based off the module, probably just going to have a bullet point like scenes to do list, 3 or 5 scenes that I want to see happen. And if we don't get to any of them, that's okay. I'll probably just do that. If you want to hear more about how I stumbled through my very first adventure as a DM, hit the like button, subscribe for more of these. I'm going to try to get these to come out every week. What helps me make more of these videos and what helps us play Fables of Refuge, and what's going to help me be a DM on my own campaign on this channel, is if you head over to Patreon and support us through multiple different tiers. We range from $2 to $4 and beyond. Exclusive weekly vlogs. For these videos, early access, so you get to watch these before everyone else. Above that, you're able to make a custom NPC that's going to happen in the campaign, both Fables of Refuge and my own, and schedule a one-on-one hangout that we can talk about anything you want to talk about. Advice, not advice, just chat. You know, people need to hang out, especially during a lockdown.